Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and a little bit because people are wondering, who is this guy? What's he doing? I watch his videos. They're everything from tutorial videos to videos of drones to me opening TVs to, doing product reviews and all different kinds of stuff. And basically, gaming is basically that's who I am. That's me. Um, I started out as when I was young. I used to install car stereos for friends and people when I was in high school, installing car stereos and stuff like that. This is a long time ago, back in the 80s, early 80s. And I ended up becoming a commercial electrician, an electrician doing wiring places like Taco Mac and Chick-fil-A and banks and big high-rise buildings. And I worked at FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, wiring a engineering research facility up there for a couple years. But when I was in Virginia, when I moved back down, I stayed at a friend of mine's house. He had bought a house, and he was going to Southern Technical College for engineering, and he was into building computers and stuff. And back then, he would install program like games and stuff, and we would play games like Wolfenstein. And we played Wolfenstein 3D on shareware. It came on floppy disks, and it was a blast. I had a great time playing that. And then when Doom came out, we put Doom on the computer, and we would actually go online. We would call. There was no online. I'll remember it. It was a small internet, like AOL had just gotten big, so the internet was very small. There was nobody on the internet. It was BBS. We could get on there and do chat and stuff, but there was hardly any real internet. This is in the late 80s, early 90s. What happened was, we would actually call up. You could use a dial-up modem, a modem to modem. And we had two phone lines. So he would call his buddy up and say, "Hey, you want to play a game of Doom? Let's play." And we'd run it through DOS and then connect to one of us would set up a server and the other one would connect from phone to phone. And we were so thrilled that you could actually be running through the game and see the other person. We'd be on the phone and be like, "Oh my God, I just saw you." We'd be so excited that we could actually see the other person running around in the game too. And we played that for a while. That was a blast. And then when I was wiring stuff, and I had built a computer. And a couple of years after that, my friend got married, and I had gotten into photography and cameras and video. And my friend asked me, "Can you shoot my wedding?" And I said, "Well, I can't. I'm in your wedding." So he said, "Well, just have our other friend Trey, let him shoot the ceremony with your camera, and then you can edit it or whatever you do, and then and you can shoot the reception part." I was like, "Okay." So I did it, and I edited it. And this is back in the days of VHS. I had to build up my computer to be able to edit the video, because there was nothing that could capture the VHS and be able to edit it in a good way. So I had to go out and buy, I had to do research on this online, because online had started to pick up by then, like not in the mid 90s. And I did research and found out that I could get a Miro DC30 was a card that you could plug into your computer, and then I could capture the video and edit it in a decent way. Actually, a little bit before that, that same friend that got married, I was building computers in the time. I got into building computers because of my other friend that I lived with. And my friend that got married worked for Rollins Truck Leasing, and he wanted me to build him a computer, so I did. And then he had it in his back bedroom, and he said, "I'd like to be able to watch TV on my screen while I'm working," because he had to do a lot of document work and stuff. And he said, "I'd like to be able to watch TV. I don't want to have to buy another TV and put it in my office back there, and I don't have another cable jack back there anyway. So if we could just make a way where I can watch TV. And I was like, okay. So I called up the guy that I got parts from, because this is back before the internet was real big on buying. You couldn't buy parts online. You could, but it was real risky back then when the internet first came out. And so I went online, or I called my friend up and said, is there a TV tuner card or something? He said, yeah, STB TV tuner, you can get it and put it in. I was like, okay. So I bought it, and from him, instead of going to like Micro Center. It was Micro Center. Oh, I remember the internet provider was Mindspring. If you remember that, it came on floppy disk. You could go to like the computer store and you could buy the shareware like floppy disk things, bring them home, put it in your computer, and then you can dial into Mindspring. I remember the name. Anyway, so I get this TV tuner card and I bring it over to his house, and I plug it in and I installed the software. And when I installed the software, it came with a software called Adobe Premiere, like 2.0 or something like that. It was like an early version of Adobe Premiere Lite or something. And I thought, what is this? So I got it, I put it in, and I found that you could capture the video. And I thought, well, that's cool, you can capture the video. Because years before that, I played guitar with my friends, the same friends in a band, and I used to do all the recording, like hooking up multiple VHS hi-fi stereo decks and doing analog recording and 4-track recording and stuff like that. So I was always into doing recording and recording audio and stuff like that. So I was like, this is really neat. I can record the video, and then I could take and split it and edit it non-linear. I could take a section out and cut that section out or move it over to the beginning. I thought that was the neatest, and edit it non-linear. So I didn't have to sit there and like tape to tape where you'd have to roll through it. So I just thought that was amazing. So I got the software and I started fiddling with that. So when I did his wedding, he said, hey, can you do this? So I got the DC-30 and I got the video and I finished it, and I gave him the tape, the VHS tape. It was back then you had to send it back out to VHS. So I sent it back out to VHS tape, and he called me up the next day or 2 days later, and he said, I'm up here with my mom. We just watched this video. My mom is sitting here crying watching this video. He said, she's bawling. He said, why are you an electrician when you can do this? Why are you doing that? You've always done all the recording with our band. You always did that kind of thing. So why are you an electrician? You seem like it's a waste of your talent. You should be doing this. You did a good job. So I said, okay, maybe I will. So I advertised that I was a videographer, and I started going out and getting jobs doing video. And I was still an electrician at the time. So when I built my computer up, I realized, hey, I can play the games even better on the computer, so I get to play games. So I started playing like Quake 2. I was real big into Quake 2, played Quake 2, Rocket Arena. And I did that when I was an electrician, Rocket Arena. Quake 3 came out, I pre-ordered Quake 3, and I went down to CompUSA in Duluth, Georgia, and picked it up. I got the metal box version and all that. And I really enjoyed playing the games. But then I was into the video editing, so I taught myself editing and the Adobe software and Adobe Photoshop and Premiere and all that type of stuff. And then I ended up buying the Premiere stuff. And early on, the card, I remember when I was a big gamer, when I was playing Quake 2 and Quake 1 and stuff like that, the big card was the 3DFX card. There was a 3DFX capture card that you could put in your computer that would enhance the 3D graphics on your thing, make it play faster, smoother, and look better. And the best one was the Pure 3D card. That was made by a company called Canopus. They made a Pure 3D card that was just incredible. You could put it in, it was faster than everybody's. It had the 3DFX drivers were actually normally, you know how like now you go and get NVIDIA drivers, and the best ones like NVIDIA Experience, you download that, it'll automatically download the best drivers. Well, back before that, the best drivers were always 3DFX. You would get the 3DFX drivers. Those were the best until Canopus came out with their card, and their card actually had better drivers than the 3DFX drivers. They allowed you to overclock it. They allowed you to do more stuff with it. They were the fastest cards. They pushed it to the limit. They had better memory and stuff on their cards. It was a better hardware and software than the factory, which is unusual. So that's like right now, if you went out and got an EVGA card and you actually installed the EVGA drivers, nobody does that, but you installed the EVGA drivers and they were better than the NVIDIA drivers. That's almost unheard of nowadays. So when I was looking for a new capture card and how to edit for editing, I had the DC30 and it wasn't very good because we had moved over to DV at this time. So I was looking for a new DV capture card, and I did research and I found out that Canopus, the company that I loved for their 3DFX cards, had come out with a DV Storm. And it had, it worked with Premiere, which I was already used to doing, and it just worked. And I thought, well, this has got to be better because they were great at their 3DFX stuff. So I picked up a DV Storm and I started working with that and editing with that. And when I did my weddings, I would shoot and edit on the DV Storm. And Premiere on the DV Storm was up to version 5 or 6, 6.5 or something like that. But it was real buggy. It would crash a lot, and I thought maybe it's the hardware and stuff. And I went to the forums and found out that it was just the Adobe software. It was just it was just awful. It was the Adobe software. And the software that came, the DV Storm came with a software that was called Storm Edit. It was real simple, but it was really solid and really fast. It was called Storm Edit. And so I kept up with it. I thought, that's a great software. If they could just improve that Storm Edit to do more things, then it would be better than Adobe for my use. So I could do a lot of stuff in Storm Edit. Like I made a video for Yamaha, and I used Storm Edit, and I was doing green screen, and the guy they were just amazed at how awesome it did a great job. I moved away from Adobe Premiere because Canopus had come out with their own editing software called Edius, which was like Storm Edit, but in between Storm Edit and Premiere. It was like a more advanced Storm Edit, but not as advanced as Premiere. But it was fast and stable, and it worked really good. So I got into that, and I was a moderator on their forums, and I was on the Canopus forums all the time, and I was helping people, and I was doing this. And I ended up quitting my electrical job, and as an electrician, I was a foreman and doing all these jobs and working for the same company for 14 years. I quit that job and started my video production company. So I was also doing this, helping them and training people and making training DVDs on Edius and all this type of stuff and helping people out. What happened was I would make a video and show people how to do something and post it to the group, like through YouTube or whatever it was at the time. And I would say, hey, check this out. This is how you do it. Somebody would come up with a question. How do you green screen but keep something, change the color of something, like the guy's shirt? And I would make a video and show them how to do it in Edius. And so I was on the beta team, and I was able to get beta copies and get the full version, and I think I got all the way up to version 3 or something like that. But then I got out of editing for a while. I got out of it for a little bit. So I stopped gaming, and I stopped doing a lot of this same stuff. I went back and was an electrician for again for a little while, because I got too much into the training and not enough, and there was no Canopus. The Edius was such a small market compared to Premiere that you couldn't really make a living training people how to use a software that nobody used. So for like 3 or 4 years, I wasn't doing anything. I didn't upgrade the computer. I didn't do the video stuff. I sold my cameras. Everything, I got out of it completely, and I went back doing electrical work. So I was an electrician for a number of years, and then I was an electrician. I got in a bad accident, and I flipped the company truck, and it tore my arm up. And when I did that, I couldn't climb on my arm. I couldn't climb in an attic. I couldn't do the electrical work as much as I was before. So it came to a time where I had to either find something else to do, become a job foreman only. And I could do that. I had companies offering me jobs because I was in the business for so long, for 20 years as an electrician. It's not hard to find a job. Or try and get back into doing the video thing. So when I got a settlement for my accident, I got a settlement from the insurance company. Because I was on the clock when it happened. I flipped the truck, it was on the clock. So when I got a settlement for my thing, I thought, this is it. I've got $20,000. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do this again. It's either I take my $20,000 and just stick it in the bank and try and make it last and go back to doing electrical work with an arm that's I can't work on hardly. I can't do stuff without it because it's still a little painful. I said, or I go back and do the video thing again, and I start my photography and video business back. So that's what I did. I went back and I bought some HDV cameras, and I bought a new computer, and I went all out doing that. Started advertising, started doing that. So that was about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. When I got back into it, it was looking back at Edius or Adobe again. I looked at Adobe, and Adobe Premiere had come a long way. It was up to CS4 or something, and it had gotten better. So I checked it out, and I thought, well, this is much better. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can use the Mercury playback engine. I think it was CS5 that did that, or CS4 might have had it where you could hack it and use the Mercury playback engine. And it actually had pretty decent real-time performance, and it had all these other features that I always wish Edius had. So I was like, well, I'm going to go back to using Premiere. Let me give it a shot. So after reading the forums and all the stuff, I ended up going back to Premiere. So since I had to have a more advanced video card, like a newer video, a couple $100 for a video card, the card came with games. So I was like, well, I should check out some of the games that this thing can play now, because I've got a decent computer and it can play games. And it's been so long since I got on and played games. So I was looking, I picked up Call of Duty, and I found out that over time, in the time that I missed, the gaming had drastically changed. It had gone from PC gaming and console gaming being separate. So if you were a console gamer, you played Nintendo, you played Xbox, you played console games. And if you were on a PC, you played PC games. So, and you would never play Quake on a console because the controls suck for playing first-person shooters. You can't look up and down as smooth as you can with a keyboard and mouse, which is still the case. I mean, it's just true. But they had figured out how to add in auto aiming that kind of clicked the person over to the. If you're trying to aim at somebody, it would automatically help them out with aiming and stuff like that for playing on the console. But the big issue was the consoles. The companies like Activision that did Quake and games like that found out that, hey, when we sell these kids a game, they will pay for maps. They will pay for content. And on a PC, nobody would pay for maps. When I had Quake 3, I went back looking on my stuff that I'd saved. When I had Quake 3, I had a whole folder of stuff that I copied to a DVD or CD, whatever, back in the day, of like hundreds of maps that were free. We'd go online and just download them. In fact, when I used to play Rocket Arena, some of those servers, if you didn't have the map that was running on the server, it would automatically download to your PC. All that stuff was completely free. Skins, maps, weapons, anything. So and back in the day, I used to actually do Frank Rizzo's sound pack. My username was Frank Rizzo on Quake 2 and Quake 3. And I actually had a website with sound packs where you could replace the sounds, and it'd be like Chris Farley or the Jerky Boys sounds when you were jumping and getting hit. There's, just different silly stuff that I did back in the day. So we wouldn't dream of paying for a map. That's ridiculous. The community creates maps. Now, when Quake or Quake 2 or Quake 3 or whatever, when ID Software would come out with like an expansion pack, a company would work on an expansion pack, and it would be part of the campaign. So the campaign would be expanded. So it would be paid for. You'd pay $20, and you'd get the Reckoning or whatever the expansion was, and it would have new weapons and stuff like that. And even Quake 3 did it. ID did it with Team Arena. They came out with Team Arena for Quake 3. It was an expansion, and it had more team games and stuff like that. But that didn't sell well because we already had that stuff for free. So if you look back at the history of gaming, that didn't sell well because we had it for free, because we created it ourselves. I actually created sound packs myself, so I was already used to creating content for the games. So it was a huge shock to me when I started playing Call of Duty that they actually had paid for maps and stuff. I thought this is, and they called it DLC. We didn't have a name called DLC back in the day when I was playing. There was no DLC. It was you. DLC was what you created. It wasn't the company selling you stuff for $20 for 4 maps. That was, nobody would ever imagine that. So they made it, because of the consoles being online, because of consoles being online, and kids getting these same games. That's what messed up this whole system. That's what messed it all up. It didn't mess it up for the companies. It made it better for the companies. Activision sold tons of DLC for $20 a pop. They were making tons of money off of Call of Duty. It messed it up for the PC gamers and for the gamers who weren't able to make the content anymore and get free maps. We had it made back in the day. Oh, that was the other thing, is they had changed the way we played the game, and that they had health regeneration. So you just hide around the corner and your health would regenerate. Also, you didn't control the map. I guess they made it easier for console players, because console players don't play one-on-one very much. See, back in Quake 2 and Quake 3 days, when we would get in groups and play, we would spectate and watch 2 people playing one-on-one, and they would control the map by picking up the weapons and the armor and the ammo and the health and denying it from the other person. So without that thing, they didn't need to worry about people picking up health and armor and stuff. So in Call of Duty and stuff like that, they gave you weapons to start. So you started off with weapons, which we weren't used to. You started off with the worst gun in the game, which was a pistol, and you went and picked up your weapons. Or if you started off with weapons like Rocket Arena 2, it wasn't about picking up weapons as it was about controlling different parts of the map. With Rocket Arena, you were able to rocket jump and jump up to different levels and control different parts of the map. So it was a different type of game. And it ended up coming down to a 1 versus 1. How Rocket Arena worked is, when you played, 2 teams would play, and when each team would kill the person. When you died, you went and waited and spectated. Or you went in a room and hung out with a bunch of other people, and you'd be jumping around, talking to them, chatting, or going and spectating and watching the players that are left. And it would end up down to 1 versus 1. And you would watch those 2, and you could go back and forth across them. I wasn't used to health regeneration. I wasn't used to hiding around the corner and popping out and shooting, because I was used to running and gunning. But so Call of Duty was actually more running and it was more running and gunning compared to, say, Battlefield or something like that, which I later got into, just because the graphics were so much better, and I kind of liked how it played. I just liked the way it played. I liked the way Battlefield played. It felt better, which is funny because Call of Duty uses the Quake engine, ID Tech, and you'd think that I would have gotten used to that better, the way that felt. But to me, that felt more floaty, like Unreal. Battlefield actually felt more like I was the character. For some reason, it felt more real, like more solid. The controls felt more real, like I was the person. And that's part of what, because I didn't like Unreal Tournament. I wasn't an Unreal Tournament fan. I thought it felt floaty and spammy. You had 4 rockets shooting at people and throwing a bunch of green goop down on the floor and everybody floating around. I really didn't care for it. As time goes on, I got into Battlefield, and I got into Battlefield 3 and BF4 and played the heck out of those games. After playing Battlefield for a little while, I got Call of Duty Black Ops, and I was mad that I couldn't return it because they didn't come out with a demo. They didn't come out with they never released a beta or some way to test it to see if you even liked it. And apparently, between COD4 and that, I didn't, because I played older games like COD4, and then when I jumped to that, I couldn't believe it was the same game because it was just horrible. I was like, this is not anything like that other game that I just played. This is awful. The goofy sounds and the goofy thing and people quick scoping and all that stuff was just awful. I just thought it was an awful game. So I played it like 4 hours and quit, and I spent the money on it, and I've got it on my Steam account, but I've played it 4 hours and just quit. I just couldn't stand it. It was the worst game. So I played Battlefield and stuff like that, and I'm excited about Battlefield 1, but I still kind of longed for the days when spawned in when you started a game, and the story didn't start with a long story and everybody walking around talking for half an hour about, you know, what the story is. I mean, I got The Division, I played that, it's pretty cool, but it's not really that. It's great, it's good. It was, I guess I got my money out of it. I can still play it now and then, it's okay. But I was kind of looking for this game that was like Doom. The new Doom is just perfect. This game is perfect. They finally came out with a game where you don't have health regeneration, you're not hiding behind a box, you're not, you're running, you're picking up stuff, you're picking up, there are weapons to pick up, there are stuff to pick up, there's, they added like the quad damage and haste from Quake, so that makes it better. The single player, I tried the multiplayer when it came out, and I was not a fan. It was okay, but they like had loadouts, and I didn't understand why they would have loadouts in a Doom game or a Quake game. And you start off with like two weapons or something. It was like a mix of Call of Duty and Quake. It was like a weird mix of Halo, Call of Duty, and Quake. Let's put it like that. Like Halo meets Quake or something. And it was, I wasn't a fan, but I thought, well, but it is ID Software, so maybe they'll come out with, maybe the first person, maybe the campaign will be better. Maybe the campaign will actually be what it used to be. And that's what Doom was a campaign. We played, like I said, from the very beginning, I played over modem to modem, like from phone to phone, but it wasn't really intended to be an internet playable game. It was because there was no internet when Doom came out. It was just coming out at the beginning of the internet, so it didn't even have an internet browser or any way to play. We actually used to have to get GameSpy. GameSpy, before it became a huge company and changed into multiple names, it was actually just a simple software you put on your computer to server browse for servers with Quake 1 and Doom and stuff like that. Because because it was a little bit better. You couldn't control the map, but there was still some pickups. So like, it's not totally like the Gauss cannon gun. You have to pick it up. It's not, you can't spawn with it. So you have to go and pick that up. So there are pickup weapons that you can deny players from getting. But, you know, this demon spawn thing is like overpowered. I think they could do some modifications to it and make it a really great game that was great, but it's still good. But I had high hopes for the campaign. And my high hopes were completely met. I went ahead, I watched a video before doing it, and this guy was saying the same things basically I'm saying, that the multiplayer was like this, but the Doom is a single player game. And the multiplayer is not as bad as people saying, because even though there's loadouts and stuff like that, you still can't control the map by controlling the pickups, but controlling the quad damage and the Gauss cannon and some of the more powerful weapons that they allow you to get. So it's still kind of like Quake, so there's still hope that the final Doom will be more like Doom used to be. So after watching this video, I thought, he's right. I'm going to go ahead and pre-order this game because I know that it will probably be pretty good. And when I pre-ordered it, so when I first launched Doom, when I got the single player, when I got it, the night of, and I launched it the first time, I was in shock. It looked awesome. It was fast. The monsters, it jumped you right into the game. It didn't dilly-dally around with a long story and having you walk around and listen to people talk. Even your character, as he's watching a screen and the guy's talking, he pushes the screen out of the way, like, get this thing out of here, I'm ready to play. That tells me, when that first happened, I thought, this is it. This guy's not playing, he's balls to the wall. This is Doom like it's supposed to be. And when he went out there, yeah, the gory kills, whatever, those where you punch the guys, that's a little cheesy, but actually it fits in perfect with the game. You can do it very fast. It happens in a second, and it moves right along. It's like whipping the chainsaw out real quick in the old game and killing them with the chainsaw. So it's like that. So I thought, well, this is fantastic. This is I love this. This game is exactly what they should have made. For all these years, this is the successor to Doom. This is the successor to the original Doom. And now they're saying, and I'm going to put it on the screen here, that they're actually looking for to hire more people. ID Software is id Software, ID. I call it ID. is going to hire people, and they're looking for people that are interested in Quake and Doom. So now we're thinking, well, maybe they're coming out with a new Quake. What if they do a reboot of Quake? That would be incredible. That's exactly what we want. They've always been, I like how they do something different. If you want to look at the differences in game companies, look at how ID Software does something completely different. They do a game that people think, what in the heck is this? This is nothing like any first-person shooter we've seen in 20 years. This is like it used to be. At the same time, Infinity Ward and the Call of Duty franchise turns around and does something exactly the same as they did the year before. It's so, the new Call of Duty is just like the last one, only a different one. So people are getting sick of seeing just like the thing that they had last year, only different. That's why Battlefield, the guys at DICE did the same thing with Battlefield. They came out with two Battlefields that were very similar. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 were almost identical games, slightly different stuff, but basically the same game. But it's been played out. It's done. So what were they going to do next? Are they going to come out with Battlefield 2142? No. They're not going to come out with what everybody else comes out with. They jump back and go to Battlefield 1, the first one. Battlefield World War 1, they jumped back in time, went back to the first one, so they did it smart too. So the two companies that did first-person shooters smart this year is DICE with Battlefield 1 and ID Software with Doom. These are two games that they went back to their roots and started playing the original, how the games really got successful to begin with. And I look forward, I can't wait to see what the new Battlefield and new Doom and stuff, I mean the new Battlefield is like, and what the next thing for ID Software with Quake and stuff like that, and making maps on Snap Map and Doom, and playing more Doom levels. And I haven't even launched the multiplayer of Doom since getting the copy. I've been playing just through the single player. I've just been enjoying the single player, and I haven't even been rushing through it like I normally do. I've been trying to find secrets, so I'm walking around the level, and I'm looking around at the beautiful level. I mean, I'm amazed at the quality. And this is from a guy that was big. I told you, I was big into Doom and Quake, and I was in clans in Quake 2 and Quake 3 and all this kind of stuff. I was in groups of people that would go off and played a lot of one-on-one, and people knew me everywhere. I went to LAN parties and I'd be like, I'm Frank Rizzo, and they're like, this is Frank Rizzo. They knew which one, and they knew my name from playing Quake 2. I was pretty popular among the Quake 2, and because I was on what it was I was in a group of back in the day. I was in a group on the Usenet, which is like similar like what before Facebook and MySpace. It was Usenet. You'd go in news groups and have discussion groups. There's groups that have binary files too, but there was discussion groups. So our group was Alt Games Quake 2, and I was in there, and I was Frank Rizzo in there, and everybody knew me. And somebody asked, you know, how do you play Quake 3? What's your play setup like? And I said, as a joke, because we heard these same questions all the time in the news group. I said, I like to play Quake 2 in the shower. I said, but it gets kind of annoying because my hands are all wet and it slips on the keyboard, and sometimes I'll be eating a tuna sandwich and I have to put it down, and then it gets soggy, and I'm afraid to eat my tuna sandwich, so I'll hold my tuna sandwich up so it doesn't get wet while I'm playing Quake 2 in the shower. And just being stupid. And my friend Chicken said he's going to start calling me Tuna Boy. So he started calling me Tuna Boy from that point on. So my bounce back email on the thing was tuna@boy.com. So I got the name Tuna Boy from my friend Chicken, whose name is Brad, and he's he's Zig on the thing. He came up with the name Tuna Boy, and that's how I got the nickname Tuna Boy, and that's my in-game name is Tuna Boy. So anyway, so that's the history of how I got Tuna Boy on my thing. And if you want to hit me up, I'm Tuna Boy. Sometimes it's TUNA Boy _boy. And sometimes it's TOONA _boy. That's mine on Battlefield is TOO on Origin, because Tuna Boy was taken, TUNA. Amazing, Tuna Boy was taken. But on Steam it's Tuna Boy, TUNA _BOY, Tuna Boy. That's my name on Steam. I was able to keep my name on Steam. So anyway, so that's the story, and that's what I think of the latest Doom, and my story of why you're sitting here watching this channel. You're wondering what the heck, who's this guy and what is he doing? And I hope to release more videos on editing, because it seems when I look on my stats on YouTube, the most popular videos I have are ones showing people how to do something. And that's always a bonus when you show people how to do something, because people like to learn, and everybody likes to learn something. So learning how to edit something a certain way, or how to create a DVD from Premiere, or how to do anything. If you learn something, I'll sit through a video that trains somebody how to do something any day. I mean, I watch stuff that I watch people changing a motor on a car, and I'm not going to change a motor on a car, but I watch the video. I can't stop watching it. So those are the most popular on my channel. So I'll keep posting those, but now and then I'll post some videos, gameplay videos maybe, and stuff like that, because I like the game. I'm a gamer, and I'm a video editor, and I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. So thanks for watching, and this is my channel.